The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.
Hey guys, well, today I got another Bad Avenue story for you. So I heard in the last couple of days that Mikey Scar's DiLeonardo is going to be joining YouTube. So I figure, you know what, let me give Mikey Scars a welcome to YouTube and say hello and tell a story about Mikey. Now, my experience with Mikey Scars was a very good experience. Mikey Scars in my neighborhood was actually one of the better guys in the neighborhood. He interacted with us when we were kids. He played football with us and he played softball with us in 163 schoolyard. That's the type of guy he was. Now, when I met him, he was not a wise guy. He was just a street guy, a regular guy, and he had his own produce market. Okay, located somewhere Metropolitan Avenue or somewhere like that. And then after he sold his market, he started working for the Castellanos, Frankie Castellano, Peter Castellano. They were related to Paul some way down the bloodline. And all the names was Paul, all the names was Frankie and Peter, the Castellanos that owned the Western Beeps. But I met Mikey Scars in front of Nick's candy store. One day he came in. I'm going back to maybe 1981, 82, a long time. And this is how we became very friendly with him. Little Georgie Adamo, Albert Slavin, Tommy Reynolds, me, and John Polio. Okay, so we all started working for Mikey. At the time when I met Mikey, Mikey had a big Lincoln Continental when the big Lincolns were out there. And he would pick us up in the morning and he would drive us to work every day. And at the end of the day, we all filled up a banana box. You know where the bananas come in, those big boxes? We would fill them up with all kinds of produce and we would bring them home. Now, when I was a kid, I came from a broken home. My mom and dad were separated, and I lived in a building. I was on the third floor. Fabrizio was on the first floor at this time. That's later on where Fabrizio moved up down the block and his parents bought a house. When Fabrizio left that building, I actually moved into Fabrizio's apartment on the first floor. My mother, my brother, my sister. Now, Mikey Scars used to pick us up every day. And after he sold his company, then he started working for Frankie and Peter Castellano. And we would start on Metropolitan Avenue. And Mikey had some authority. Mikey was always a gentleman. He was a tough guy. Even when we played football, he would, go for the ball and he would fall. He wasn't afraid to get cut or scraped up. And he had a good reputation on the street. He did. And, he wasn't known for a killer, but he was known to be tough. When I was a kid now, I never knew he had a brother that was murdered. I found that out later on in life. And then eventually, he had an apartment on 12th Avenue. Now, when he sold his first location, his produce market or supermarket, there was a big safe that had to come out of there. And me and my friends, we put it on a hand truck and we lifted it and we put it in the back of his trunk. But Mikey Scars was always a gentleman to all of us. Now, there was times when we would, from after Western Beef, at the end of the night, we would go to some places in East Orange, New Jersey. East Orange, New Jersey, there was clubs over there, social clubs, and the black guys owned them. And we would walk in, we were all Italian, and Mikey Scars would walk in with authority, all suited up, and we just came after work, And you know, we would sit down, and actually we would have a beer. You know, we were young kids, maybe 13, 14, 15 years old, and we would sit down, have a beer, and get something to eat. You know, and Mikey got a kick out of us. Now, when I was working in Western Beef, I was like one of the guys where I didn't give a fuck. I mean, me and my friends, none of us gave a fuck. We'd be in Western Beef and we'd be throwing apples and oranges at each other, you know, and people be ducking. And, you know, sometimes we would hit one of the customers. I mean, we were wild kids. And every so often there was these, you know, young black kids. They were walking like they're thugs. And they was, you know, what are you looking at? And I would go outside and I would fight with them, fist fight with them, you know, and Mikey got a kick out of that. But every time we came to Western Beef, there was always a threat on Mikey's life, because Mikey would grab people and throw them out of there, because he would find a lot of people who would shoplift in there. You know, he would just grab them and throw them out of there. So there was times when Mikey Scars would come to work with a bulletproof vest, and because there was a lot of threats on his life. But my experience with Mikey Scars, he was always a gentleman, okay? In this photo, you see Mikey Scars to my right. That's Mikey Scars over there. To my left is John Jr. with the glasses, and next to him is Bobby Borriello. The guy behind me was a guy by the name of Casman. He was friendly with them. He wasn't a wise guy. The reason why I put up this photo, it's a pretty cool photo, you know, to look back on. And then later on, Mikey Scars got straightened out after they killed Paul Castellano. And, you know, I'm sure he's going to tell you all that story. But there was a time when my friend John Polio was murdered in 1988. I think that's the year Mikey Scars got straightened out. And, you know, we were selling drugs for Georgie Conti at the time. I'm going to throw up a picture of Georgie Conti. This way you know who I'm talking about. Okay? That was Georgie Conti. Georgie Conti at the time, he also was not straightened out. He eventually became a captain in Lucchese crime family. You know, I go back with Georgie when I was a kid too. You know, I told a couple stories about Georgie Conti. You know, I'm not crazy about him because he's the one who killed John Polio. But when we were having problems with Georgie Conti, what happens is I asked Mikey Scars for help. And Mikey Scars was dating Tony Marie Fabiano. Tony Marie Fabiano's father was Robert Fabiano. He was a wise guy with the Gambino crime family. Okay, here's another photo I'm going to show you. Now, that's a photo of Robert Fabiano right behind the woman I'm dancing with. Okay, that's Robert Fabiano. Now, the woman I'm dancing with, that's Michael Scars' mother. Okay, that's at Michael Scars' wedding. I was fortunate enough to be invited to Mikey Scars' wedding. And, you know, a lot of wise guys there. Frankie D was there. You know, all kinds of wise guys. Paulie Zach, and, you know, so on and so on. Lots of wise guys. Joe Sist, all of them. Everybody was at his wedding, this guy. Okay? And so he wasn't straightened out yet at the wedding either. But Robert Fabiano sat down for me, and I was telling Robert Fabiano that I have a problem with Georgie Conti. Now, Georgie Conti was known to be sneaky and a killer. I mean, he's one of the hitters that killed Nicky Izzo. Nicky Izzo was a guy on Bath Avenue that was a drinker. He was a tough guy. He would collect money for guys, and he was very abusive when he was in the bar. Eventually, he walks up to a payphone. When he gets to the payphone, Georgie Conti gets out with Alfredo Temporino, and they pop him in the head and they leave him on Bath Avenue. We were in front of Nick's Candy Store when this happened. We were young kids, you know, but that's how my neighborhood was. My neighborhood was the slums, you know. And a lot of people say, you know what, Bath Avenue, what? Listen, Bath Avenue was sick. Back in the day, Bath Avenue was fucking nuts. Everybody could tell you. Bath Avenue was known for wise guys, crime, and murderers. But this is the guy that Georgie Conti, no, this is the guy that Mikey Scars was with. Paulie Zach was a wise guy in the Gambino crime family. Now, before Mikey Scars even got straightened out, he was around Paulie Zach. Later on, of course, Paulie Zach releases him because, John Gotti's in the picture. And, Mikey Scars gets straightened out. I'm sure Mikey Scars is going to tell you a lot of stories on YouTube. You know what? I'm actually happy that he's coming to YouTube. But Mikey, if you see this video, just understand that you're going to have a lot of guys coming at you. But, I'm going to be one of the guys that's going to be talking good about you because you always treated me and my friends with respect, and you always try to help us growing up. You're one of the better guys in the neighborhood. But getting back to Georgie Conti, so we had problems with Georgie Conti, and at this time, my friend John Polio gets murdered. I talked to Mikey Scars. He talks to Robert Fabiano, and a couple of days later, I see Georgie Conti, and Georgie Conti is treating me like a totally different person. So Robert Fabiano actually got in touch with Georgie Conti. But I have a couple photos I want to show over here. Here's Mikey Scars back in the day when he was a younger guy. I mean, as you see, he's got the velour sports jacket on with the collar open. I mean, listen, he was a good-looking guy back then. I'm sure that's what Tony Marie at the time fell in love with. He's probably a charming guy. And this is him at one of his trials. He went to trial in Atlanta on one case, a strip club case, and he ended up beating it. But this is a photo I really like right here. This is a photo back in the day with Tony Marie and Mikey Scars. Now look at Tony Marie. Tony Marie back in the day was the most beautiful woman on Bath Avenue. She really was. She was beautiful. She was a knockout, 100%. And everybody loved Tony Marie. She was beautiful. And Mikey Scars was a lucky one to marry her, And when he married her, her parents, as far as Robert Fat, he really didn't approve of it because he knew that Mikey Scars was a part of the life, and he probably didn't want Tony Marie to have any part of that life back then. But I tell these stories about Mikey Scars because Mikey Scars was a really good guy. He used to pick us up in the morning, drive us to East Orange, New Jersey, and sometimes I was 14, 15 years old, and I'd be driving Mikey Scars' Lincoln to East Orange, New Jersey, while he'd be sitting in the passenger seat, So I learned how to drive when I was a young kid. But being around these guys, you grew up really fast. And, when I was about 14, 15 years old, I was more like maybe 23, 25 years old. That's how fast I grew up. But this is just a short story, a Bath Avenue story of how I met Mikey Scars. And Mikey Scars, everyone loved him back then. He had a lot of respect. Eventually, he got straightened out with John Jr. He became a captain. He was a money guy, made a lot of money. Eventually, what happened was he got involved in the Fred Weiss's murder, and that's what took all these guys down. And he cooperated later on. I'm saying, but listen, I'm sure he had his reasons, but Mikey Scars was a good guy. 100%. He was one of the better guys in my neighborhood. In my neighborhood, there was a bunch of killers, murderers, drug dealers, but Mikey Scars was actually one of the better ones. And I remember him always bringing food, boxes of food to his mother. I would run him up to his mother on 92nd Street in Bay Ridge. And, I have a lot of good memories with him. I was fortunate enough to go to his wedding. And I'll tell you, what? I have good memories with him. He was always a good guy. And listen, I wish him the best of luck. And I'm looking forward to listening to his stories on YouTube. With that said, I love all you guys. Thank you guys for the support. I'll see you on my next video. I got some special guests coming up. Hopefully we get to see Tommy Dates this week. And with that said, to all you guys who support me, thank you so much. To all my followers, I love you guys. If there's anything I could do for you, please reach out. With that said, everyone, have a great Monday. Bye, guys.
The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.